First things first, all the talk surrounding the upcoming draft is about the quarterbacks, but is tight end Kyle Pitts actually the best player available? The Packers have been quiet in free agency, and it's not a good thing. Can Aaron Rodgers be the reason why? And has anybody heard from Clint Capella? Anyone? Guy got posterized over the weekend. And with that, we say good Monday morning, everyone. Welcome to First Things First. Jenna Wolfe, Nick Wright, Brandon Marshall, Kevin Wild. Nick, dunk of the year?
Jenna, I'm not prone to hyperbole. Best in-game dunk since Vince over Vice in the Olympics. Best in-game dunk we've had in 15 years.
That's something.
Wow.
Certainly.
Wow.
We will get to that in a second. We got to go back to Saturday for Nets-Lakers to start the show. Nets without Harden, Lakers without basically everyone. But they put on a show defensively, and the Nets got outplayed underneath all night long. It was a nice, big, easy win for the Lakers. How big? How about Dennis Schroeder calling it, quote, the best win of the year. 8 players in double digits for the Lakers. Meanwhile, Nets offense with KD on a minutes restriction never quite kicked it into gear. Let the gloating begin, America. Nick, was Saturday's blowout a big deal or no big deal?
Oh, my friends, it was a big deal for not one, not two, but 3 separate reasons. The first one is, my daughter even knows it was a big deal. She tried to come in the shot. She was like, we're talking about the Lakers blowing out the Nets. We are, baby, but let me talk to America first. She watched that game with me. Here's the reason it was a big deal. 3 reasons. First of all, Andre Drummond ate LaMarcus Aldridge's lunch all evening. And guess what? Andre Drummond is not what the Nets need to worry about. Because to even get to Andre Drummond, they got to get through Giannis, and then they got to get through my friend Brandon Marshall's best player alive, Joel Embiid. And then if they do all that, they've got those guys, well, 2 of those 3, the fella in the yellow hair and the pearls, I don't think is a huge concern, but Anthony Davis and LeBron, plus Andre Drummond and LaMarcus Aldridge is not equipped to deal with any of that. This has been the problem for the Nets all year. It's been my concern. It has been the reason that I refuse to anoint them as this unbeatable super team that our friend Chris Broussard anointed them last week. It's the reason I haven't called them the favorite, as Brandon has done throughout the year. They don't have size. That's the first reason it's a big deal. Second reason it's a big deal, Brandon, I'll be quicker on these 2. KD don't look right. 14 turnovers in 43 minutes since he's been back. He looks a little uneasy and tentative, if you will, with the ball. And the last one is,
yeah, of course.
I don't know if you looked, but today, more paid time off for Kyrie Irving. Kyrie Irving got ejected from this game after a tete-a-tete with Dennis Schroeder and said he's taking today off for whatever reasons. So those are the 3 reasons. This was the canary in the old coal mine for why the Nets season is going to be a disappointing one. And I just wonder, Brandon, if you're a little nervous. If you're a little nervous finally.
Listen, you are absolutely right. I agree with you. This was a big deal. The only reason why it was a big deal, you went on, hey, I got 3 points. 1 point. Because of you. It keeps you alive in this conversation. That's the only reason why it's a big deal. I turned on this game Saturday, and I got to be honest, I watched the first half, then I shut it off. I said, we're going to blow these boys out. And then I woke up to the news like, oh, my goodness, what happened?
Nightmare.
And then that's when you got to dive into the basketball. You're talking about LaMarcus Aldridge and playing bigs. Listen, it comes down to the big 3. We know that. That's what makes this team sensational. No Harden. AD's on the pitch count. Kyrie's ejected when the game's within 4 points in the third quarter with 9 minutes left in the game. That's the reason why. And if you want to go a little deeper, drive from the 3. Did he make this? Oh, he made that one. Drive from the 3. The bench had did they even show up? Where was Shamet? Where was Blake Griffin? Where was Joe Harris? Like, where were these guys? So while, it's a big deal because it keeps Nick Wright alive in this conversation. But you go back to February 18th when they played in L.A., You know, Shamet showed up. Joe Harris showed up. Joe Harris would hit 6 threes. It's a totally different day.
Yeah.
That's it. Not a big deal.
Okay. All right. Okay. Brandon, the way you watch that game, we're like, we'll probably win, is exactly how Brooklyn played it. And my big takeaway was this. We keep on calling the Nets, they're the villains. They're the bullies. They're not. They're just like the cool kids in school. Everything kind of comes easy. They got a lot of friends. They're a little bit older than everybody, but they're not mean. They're cool. Because if they were real bullies, they would pick on the weak Lakers and take their lunch money and beat them by 30. But they didn't. And I know you're going to be like, Wilds, they're a super team. They don't need to be mean. Nick, I would say that every championship team has a little bit of bully mentality, whether it's Draymond, whether it's Kevin Garnett, whether it's scowling LeBron. You don't see that from the Nets.
Kyrie.
You see them mean in DMs, but on the court, they actually play quite nice. Yeah. So, Nick, I think it's a big deal because I don't think that they have the championship bully mentality that they need.
Yeah, but he's not a bully.
Kyrie's our Draymond.
Come on.
He just got ejected.
Kyrie's your Draymond. Here is the problem for the Nets. Brandon talking about Shamet and Joe Harris not hitting their shots. Or, they obviously weren't at full strength. And that should be considered because the Lakers were, only without their top 5 scorers on the season. But that's neither here nor there. The problem for the Nets is the only answer is, well, we weren't making shots. The answer is not, we'll be better defensively. Oh, don't worry. Brandon, all the guys you're mentioning, they're not being there, do not help them against tall people.
Those were...
and it's not a 6-8 and under league. The tall people are going to hurt them throughout the postseason, which is a rough spot to be in the NBA playoffs.
What I'm saying, Nick, is it's not going to matter. That's what I'm saying. KD's on a pitch count. Come on, and you're talking about, KD 14 turnovers in 2 games. Nick, he missed 2 months, 23 games. Think about it. Of course he's going to be rusty. He came back and just lit it up the first game. And then you got Kyrie and James Harden. It doesn't matter. Bring back Shaquille O'Neal. Bring back any big that you want in the history of the game, and they're still going to lose. Put them on the Lakers. Still going to lose. Doesn't matter.
Okay, that's fine, but it does indicate a bit of a change in perspective on this team. Because early in the year, when I was arguing with you and Chris Broussard, in this regard, tell me if I'm wrong. I mean, if I'm putting words in your mouth, then tell me I'm wrong. Early in the year, when I was harping on the defense, the narrative from Broussard particularly, and you a little bit, was it'll get better. Wait and see, it'll get better. And now it seems like the answer is, we're going to score 130. Who cares? We're going to outscore you. I just don't think, because they're still 25th in defense.
Yeah, your narrative hasn't changed, so you're right. And my narrative hasn't changed. Your narratives have been, hey, defense, they don't have a big to guard the rim. For me, I kept saying, what I've been saying from the beginning of the year, they're just going to outscore everyone. They're walking buckets.
Outscore you.
And that's what's going to happen. But you didn't have any buckets. Our buckets were on the ejected, hurt, on the pitch count. That was the deal.
That's fair. Okay, that's fair. I'm excited to see them full strength.
Nets get another bite at the apple of a big man Wednesday night in Philly when they got to go up against Joel Embiid. So we'll see if last night or Saturday night was a one-off or not. Time for Take Your Pick. Miles Bridges, you saw him throw down over Clint Capella. Sorry, Clint. You could almost feel that one when it happened. But was it better than Anthony Edwards? Big one back in February. Brandon, dunk of the year so far. Bridges or Edwards? Take your pick.
Oof. You got to go with Bridges. That was just nasty. That's one of those dunks and those posters that you want to fight the guy afterwards. That was nasty. Look at that. That's nasty. It's like him slapping him in his face. I'm going with Bridges.
Of course you're going with Bridges. Jenna, I don't blame you for asking this question because I know our producers wanted us to do a comparison here, but this is a ridiculous question. Anthony Edwards had an awesome dunk. Miles Bridges had an all-time in-game dunk. He took off from the outside the restricted area, and while he did it on Clint Capella, the league's leading rebounder and one of the best defensive bigs in the league. It matters who you do it on. Best in-game dunk
Can he
since
jump?
Vince Carter over Frederick Weiss. I'll double down,
Stop
Wilds.
saying that.
Best in-game
Stop
dunk.
saying that.
It's true.
That's
then give me one that's better.
No, it is not. T-Mac Sean
That's
Bradley.
better.
There you go.
T-Mac Sean Bradley's better.
Please.
Really?
And T-Mac Sean Bradley was prior.
Anthony Edwards is the
that
best.
was prior.
I'll get my. It's still a good
goodness.
dunk. Anthony Edwards, Jenna,
my
still the better
goodness.
dunk. This is recency bias. Dunk last night. Anthony Edwards still dunk of the year and rookie of the year.
Are you
Combo
insane?
There it is.
Wilds lost it. Wilds
Clearly.
tie's too tight, cutting off his circulation to his brain.
I like your tie. I like the way it's tied. Let's talk some NFL draft. Kyle Pitts likely to go somewhere in the top 5. Is he the best overall player, though, in the entire draft class? Toss that around next. First things first. We're drawing a blank. The NFL draft now just 17 days away. So much hype surrounding the quarterbacks. But NFL.com's Bucky Brooks says tight end Kyle Pitts is, quote, the best player in the entire draft. Hey, Brandon, the team that needs to draft Kyle Pitts is blank.
Well, let's look at it. So you got the Jags picking 1. They're already locked in on Trevor. You got the Jets at 2. And then you got the Niners that moved all the way up to 3 to take a quarterback. So we're going to probably see, quarterbacks go in the first 3 picks. You got Atlanta sitting at 4. So I'm going to go with the Dirty Birds. If he is the best player in the draft, and you have Julio Jones, Calvin Ridley, and you have Matty Ice, I know they need defense, but you take this guy. You know, a lot of times we go out there and we're like, oh, we got to go reach for people. Well, go get the best player available. And if he's the best player available, I love him in Atlanta. Julio he probably got a couple more years left in him. He could potentially be the #1 guy. Nick, the biggest and the most difficult matchup on the field is the tight end going against a linebacker, the tight end going against a safety, a tight end like this who is really a slash wide receiver going against a nickel. This is going to be devastating if Bucky Brooks is right. Falcons.
Yeah, listen, I think he might be the best player in the draft, but I think he's going to last until the 6th pick, and I think the Dolphins need to take him. What is a quarterback's best friend? Nice little safety valve tight end who also doubles as a legit #1 receiver. You want to give Tua legitimate weapons. They went out and got Will Fuller this offseason. They obviously have Devontae Parker. Kyle Pitts, though, would immediately become their #1 option, tight end / receiver. I think he's there at 6 Wilds. I think if he's there, the Dolphins have to take him.
I agree the Dolphins would have to take him. I don't know if he gets past the Bengals. Here's the interesting thing. Bengals are at 5. Seems like a no-brainer. Kyle Pitts says he's going to be the best tight end ever. But our old buddy Joe Burrow, it's like, hey, guys, you know who I would really like on the squad? Jamar Chase, my old friend from LSU. Go Tigers. So I'm not saying it would be super awkward if they called up Joe Burrow and said, yeah, we know that you were publicly on the record saying you wanted Jamar Chase. We've decided to go with Kyle Pitts. I just wouldn't want to be the guy making the phone call, Jenna.
Hey, we talked a lot about Kellen Mond on this show. The Texas A&M quarterback has been rising up draft boards, and his college coach, Jimbo Fisher, said Mond is, quote, he does all the things you need to judge a first-round player. Brandon, your guy, Kellen Mond, Jimbo Fisher's comments on Mond are blank.
No lie. Look, this guy's been here for almost 4 months. I see him every single day. Look, we're out on the field 3 times a week. There's 3 things that I look for, Nick, when I look at a quarterback. I'm looking at leadership, I'm looking at arm, and I'm looking at IQ. From a leadership standpoint, this dude is a guy. That's all he is just a dude. He walks in here and he just blends right in. Why does that matter? Because you have to be relatable at this position. So many quarterbacks walk in the locker room and separates themselves from everyone else. We saw it, Brett Favre. Remember Brett Favre went to the Jets and he got his own locker. He had his own little office. He just did things differently. We hear these stories all the time. You need to be able to move men, and Kellen Mond does that. The other thing is arm talent. We're out on the field 3 days a week. He makes every single throw. Big arm, he anticipates, he's accurate, he does it all. And then the other thing is IQ. If you don't have it over here, if we're talking about if you're a slow blinker, then you can't play in the National Football League. There's so much you have to do before the ball is even hyped. And he can do that. He spent the last couple of months with Hugh Jackson mentoring him and pushing him and challenging him every single day. This kid is ready. Whoever gets him is going to be, he's going to be an asset for whoever gets him, Nick. Just plain and simple.
Well, I'm going with the team that I think might draft him if he is a first rounder. Jimbo Fisher's comments on Kellen Mond are Saintsy. Saints draft in 28. Jameis on a one-year deal. Taysom's not a quarterback. They need the young, cheap quarterback. Maybe you draft him, and if Jameis plays well during training camp, he becomes a tradable asset if a team deals with a quarterback injury. You can do a little platoon with Kellen Mond, a rookie quarterback, and Taysom Hill, a veteran H-back. So I think that if he is a first-rounder, I think that the Saints could potentially be a good fit for him, Wild.
Okay, I have two things. I have one take on Kellen Mond, then a bonus take if you ever meet Brandon Marshall.
Ooh.
First take, my answer is experience. He started 44 games, he won 31. All these other guys don't have as much experience on the quarterback position. Trey Lance and Mac Jones only started 17 games. So I like the idea that he's got a lot of experience and he gets better each year. Bonus take. If you ever meet Brandon Marshall, you better be blinking fast, because the worst thing that this guy can say that he's ever said, it's like,
Slow blinker.
Slow blinker.
don't do it. Don't do it. Go up to Brandon Marshall and say, hi, Brandon, nice to meet you. Just blink like crazy, because it's the meanest thing you say. You say it with such vitriol. Yeah. You really do not like it.
Well, my wide receiver coach in college used to walk in and he used to be like, you are a slow blinker. You will not make it to the next level. He used to come in and just tell guys that. You can't be a slow blinker. You got to get it right away.
I like it. Okay. I like it. Another way to say it is don't be dumb.
Miles, I'm throwing the ball right back to you. Blink for us, buddy. Blink fast, because you got some weird and wonderful to share. What happened to baseball this weekend?
Time for weird and wonderful. For the National Passing. Weird at the plate. Phillies Braves. Alec Boehm ends up scoring the winning run here, tagging up. Does he touch home plate? Umpire said, yeah, he did. You see. We're going to review it, though. And it turns out he didn't. After the game, reporters asked Alex, like, hey, do you think you were safe? He said, you know what? I was called safe. That's all that matters. Fantastic answer. Called safe, all that matters. Moving on. That's it. To the wonderful same game first inning. Here's a basic play. What happens here? Oh, ground ball shortstop. Beats it out. Acuna beats out a regular old ball to shortstop. I know it seems basic. This is maybe the best highlight I've ever seen in baseball. This is just a normal play. He's safe. No error on it. It's just totally normal. Wow. Fantastic. Weird Wonderwall. Great Oasis song, but an odd highlight. Brewers Cardinals. This is a home run, but it's not. It's a ground rule double because it bounces off the lip of the fence. So it's a ground rule double, but it never touches the ground. Nick, I went through sort of Fox's relationship with MLB. We do have the right to change one ground rule double to a home run. So great news, Daniel. I have decided to change this to a home run. It'll be reflected in your statistics if you log on tonight. Moving on, the final play. Johnny Cueto. This is not a video of me deciding whether or not to get Ben and Jerry. Should I get it? Should I get it? Should I get? Maybe I'll get it. No, I'm trying to get down summer.
Golfing.
I'm gonna get it. Great play, Johnny Cueto. That's your weird and wonderful.
Royals legend. Champion.
I'm in on all Ben and Jerry's references this morning. Back talking to Aaron Rodgers. I'm anticipating more. Is Rodgers' contract causing the Packers to stand pat in free agency? Find out next. First things first. It's great. Wow, it's really good stuff. Back here talking Packers now. So outside of re-signing Aaron Jones, Green Bay has been quiet on the free agent front. Haven't really done anything. We're hearing now that Aaron Rodgers' contract may be why. An unnamed agent said, quote, it's screwing the Packers in a lot of ways right now because there's just no cap space. They've called me about one of my players and said, hey, this is where we are now, and until we get something big done, hint, hint, we don't have any space. It's kind of like a lose-lose situation right now. That's what's surprising to me, is you'd think there would be a middle ground situation to get something done. Nick, what do you make of what's happening in Green Bay right now?
to be fair to this unnamed agent, it's total nonsense. That's not what, listen, folks, the Packers are making a conscious choice. And that choice is to keep their flexibility and their options open for the 2022 and most notably the 2023 season. And because of that, that's why they don't have the money. Because if they wanted to open up money, they this quickly could, and they wouldn't even have to extend Rodgers. They could simply take some of the money he's owed this year, convert it to a signing bonus. I don't have to get into the minutiae of it, and have it spill over to the 2023 cap. The reason they're not doing that is right now they can walk away from Aaron Rodgers before 2023, before that season, and the dead money is only $2 million. If they were to take $15 million of this year's money, put it on that cap, then all of a sudden that $2 million goes to $17 million. And they want the flexibility. So they are making a choice, and that choice is because we value the ability to move on from Aaron Rodgers right before he turns 40. We are not going to try to keep up with the Joneses, if you will, and do what the Bucs are doing, which is say, screw 2023, 24, 25. We're trying to win right now, which is unfortunate because the Bucs just beat you in the playoffs in your building. So I don't buy this at all, Brandon. I think this is the Packers spinning things to the agent world the way they want to, when they easily could open up money. It would just tie them to Rodgers longer term than they feel comfortable with.
Resident GM, gotta say this live on television. I think you convinced me. I think you convinced me.
Oh.
But I still gotta go with my take. I just for television right now, I have to go with my take, and I gotta play devil's advocate, right? Think about it. You go out and you draft Jordan Love. You are Aaron Rodgers. You're one of the best to ever do it in the National Football League. And then you go out and you have an MVP year. To me, this is Aaron Rodgers saying, I'm leaning into my leverage. You go out and do that. You heard him last week talk about it. He spoke 3 times on a national network talking about, there were some people thought my career was going to end. The timing of my career didn't match up, whatever. I won MVP. He said a few other things. Aaron Rodgers having fun with it. Aaron Rodgers has all the leverage because they know without him they have nothing. You go out, like I said, you draft Jordan Love, and then you follow that up with the MVP year. Aaron Rodgers wants the bag. That's what he wants. He's going out and he's getting everything he deserves. You got Tom Brady playing into his mid-40s. Why not Aaron Rodgers? Does he show any signs of slowing down, Wilds? I don't think so. So Aaron Rodgers doesn't want a 1-2 year deal. Aaron Rodgers want a 4 or 5 year deal with X amount of guarantee. He's not playing around with the Green Bay Packers. You played around with him last year and you drafted Jordan Love. He ain't playing.
Okay, so I think the Packers should trade Jordan Love. Just move on. And I don't think they will because they're afraid to apologize, Nick, and they're afraid to admit that they made a mistake. Why did the Jets move on from Sam Darnold? Joe Douglas like, I didn't draft you, Sam Darnold. I want my own pick. Like, was Sam Darnold like, I was on? If the Jets never made a GM change, I bet Sam Darnold would still be there. But they're all in supporting this decision on Jordan Love. Like, this is our plan. We're sticking with our plan. No matter what Aaron Rodgers does, no matter what, if Aaron Rodgers had his MVP season, the plan is Jordan Love. And I think it's ego, it's hubris, it's the inability to say, like, you know what, we screwed up. We should trade Jordan Love. But I don't think they're going to do it, and I think it's hurting the franchise.
Amen.
I agree with you, except for one point. I don't think they yet believe it's a mistake. They keep you know what they're doing? They are engaged to be married, and they are refusing to delete Tinder and Bumble from their phone. They just want to keep a slight option open. They're just like, no, I'm happy, we're good, but I'm not quite ready to deactivate the account. They are keeping their options open because right now they can very cleanly move on from Rodgers in Nick. 2 years.
They're engaged to a dime piece. Like, what are they doing?
I agree with you. I agree with you. But Brandon, you're talking about extensions, right? That can be Rodgers wants X, then we only want to offer Y. He wants this many years. It's so much easier than that. How much money do they want to open up? 10 million, 12 million, 15 million? They could do all that on his current contract. But it would tie Rodgers longer than he currently is, Brandon.
It's simple. All of us sitting up here, we're married. If our wives come up to us and say, hey, I want this, and they really wanted it, they'll get it. Now, there's certain things you're like, man, this doesn't make any sense. This is outlandish. This is crazy. But if they really want it, they're going to get it. So if Aaron Rodgers is saying, I want a contract and I want a 4-year deal, X amount guaranteed, guess what you do? You give it to him, because the alternative is that you're back on Bumble or whatever the other app you talked about, Tinder and the other apps. That's the alternative.
Yeah, that's what the Packers are doing. They're swiping left and right and just keeping things available. That's right. It's true.
To Nick's point, Packers can clear almost $15 million in cap space if Rodgers is willing to restructure. It's a large number there. All right, moving on. Nick's NBA medal, Zach LaVine dropping a career-high 50 on the Hawks Friday night, but the Bulls lost, and LaVine just missed the medal stand. Nick, who you got from a very busy NBA weekend?
A 50-point game missed the medal stand? Who's this committee? Well, it was a hell of a weekend. Zion had 75 points in 2 games. He missed the medal stand entirely. Sorry, Zach LaVine. 11 second-half points and a loss to the Hawks. You're out. Who's in? Let's start with Gary Trent Jr. Oh, Portland doesn't love him. You know who does? The Raptors. Masai Ujiri. The next time he loses a trade will be the first time he loses a trade. 44 points on 19 shots. That true shooting percentage, the second best in modern NBA history, only to a Klay Thompson game for that many points in a game. Gary Trent Jr., have yourself a day. Next up, Jason Tatum. Oh, Jason Tatum. While Nikola Jokic was sitting in the mezzanine level, Jason Tatum was giving you, different game. My apologies. Tatum played well in that game as well. But this one's against the Timberwolves. Jason Tatum, 53 points in an overtime victory against the Timberwolves. Hey, also, by the way, Timberwolves, take those jerseys, put them in the trash, light it on fire, and never come back. Those are the worst jerseys in the NBA. What were they? Highlighters? It's outrageous. Gold medal. Oh! Enes Kanter, my old frenemy. How about a 30-rebound game for Enes?
30 rebounds.
Now, listen. Enes Kanter, a humanitarian, a man that makes the absolute most of his off-court time, but on the court, still a useful player. 24 and 30. Congrats to Enes for his first gold medal. 30-rebound game, first one I think we've had since Dwight Howard. So there it is. An amazing weekend in the NBA, and his Kanter comes away with the gold.
Hey, listen. So when you left Zach LaVine off, that had to be tough. This dude was balling this weekend. He's been balling all season. But these dudes here, Kanter, Tatum, and Trent, they absolutely deserved it. You got it right, Nick. Finally, great job, buddy.
Thank you. LaVine, 39 in the first half, Jenna. Rough second half.
On for a Monday, we're on the same page. Wilds, who just missed the cut?
The Indiana Pacers. Hey, rule of life. No one likes practical jokes at 3 in the morning, which is when the Indiana Pacers posted this video. You would think, we've seen how these videos play out. The guy opens up his door, the popcorn falls out. Oh, LOL, you guys got me. Not Cassius Stanley. He's like, I'm out of here. He walked 100 yards away. He was legit upset that he can't drive home because his car is full of popcorn. Delicious popcorn at that. So next time you do this, more of a daytime activity, daytime practical joke rather than a 3 in the morning one.
See, only you could find that angle on that piece of video. I love it. Back here, first things first, let's talk about the NFL draft and the projected path of Ohio State quarterback Justin Fields. Fox Bet Sportsbook has the Niners as slight favorites ahead of the Falcons to draft him. After that, you got the Broncos, you got Brandon's Jets, then you got a whole host of other teams projected to be there wanting Justin Fields. We got former Pro Bowl receiver Greg Jennings joining us now to discuss. So, Greg, 17 days away from the draft. Which team do you want to draft Justin Fields?
The team that I think would benefit most from Justin Fields is the New England Patriots. If the New England Patriots are able to acquire a talent like Justin Fields, they can have him back up Cam Newton, see how the game is played. They would have time. They obviously would have a year to literally develop him. They've acquired some weapons. They have a system in play where he can run every single play that Josh McDaniels would want, and possibly even more. He can make every single throw. He's a competitor. We know that he can win football games. I would love to see him fall in the hands of Bill Belichick and Josh McDaniels.
Oh, no, Greg. He's ready to go right now. Time to throw him in the fire. Why not go to New York? I can wear my green right today just for that reason. Let's go.
I knew it.
Come on.
I knew it.
Yes, we're going to have this conversation. Like, come on, how's he going to get past the Jets? I understand the conversation and the talk around Zach Wilson, but this dude is ready to go. Are we really going to trust Zach Wilson to come into that big market, a kid who's been tucked away at BYU for the last couple years? Sensational talent at the college level and probably have a phenomenal NFL career. But this dude is ready right now. That market is different. This dude has played on the biggest stage. He can do it all. He can run. He can throw. He's super smart. Sometimes the only knock on him is that sometimes he's too smart. Right? So putting him with Mike LaFleur, a guy who comes from that Shanahan offense, was just a passing game coordinator with the 49ers, is a perfect match. You bring him in and you throw him in the fire right now and see what happens, Nick. So I don't see him getting past the Jets.
So I do see him getting past the Jets, but I also want him to get past the Jets because I want him to succeed. And going to the Jets to play quarterback, unless you're Chad Pennington, over the last 50 years has been a place to go. It doesn't work out well for the player. So you know where I want him to go? Where I know he'll succeed, and it doubles as where I think he's going to go. And that's San Francisco at 3. There was so much smoke around Mac Jones. All of a sudden, some of that smoke seems to be dying down. And I think it is either because people are doing on-the-ground reporting, which I'm not doing, or people are doing what I am doing, which is thinking logically, is Kyle Shanahan the type of fool to trade 3 first-round picks for Mac Jones? And the answer to that is no. So where do I want him to go in what I think is one of the best offensive systems, a place that is conducive to instant success, where he already has a great number 1 option in George Kittle, which having a great tight end can be almost the perfect weapon, even better than a number 1 receiver if you're a rookie quarterback, not long term, but if you're a rookie quarterback, because it's easier throws and better, more conducive matchups. And it also, I don't know how much this matters to a lot of people, it matters a little bit to me. I think it's also important for future Ohio State quarterbacks that Justin Fields be a success. Because fair or not, if after Haskins' career has gone awry, if Justin Fields doesn't succeed, people are going to look at Ohio State quarterbacks the way people looked at Cal quarterbacks forever. Like, I don't know if that's going to work. And then Aaron Rodgers broke that mold, obviously. And so I want him to go to San Francisco Wilds. I think it would work for him. I think it would work for the team. I think they would skyrocket back to near the top of the list of contenders in the NFC. And I also think he's going to go to San Francisco.
Okay. I'm going to talk to my friend Greg, fellow Patriots fan, Greg Jennings. Greg, we've got a perfect storm here of things that Belichick wants to do. We've got, on this hand, urgency. Hey, we didn't give up on last year, but last year was a wait and see year. Now we're reloaded. We also have plan for the future. And those things are colliding here in the draft. And I don't know who's going to have the upper edge. I think in Belichick's heart, he's like, you know what? Let's roll with Cam. Let's use this 15th pick and bolster our defense and make a run at the Super Bowl. I don't think he's thinking playoffs. And he's like, let's really make a run at the Super Bowl. Or the more prudent decision is, let's plan for the future. Let's get Justin Fields. We probably have to package 15 and something else and sort of think more of the future rather than being urgent. Do you think that Belichick, who's he's about to turn 69 next week, wants to win now, and that will prevent the Patriots from drafting Justin Fields?
Of course he wants to win now, but he doesn't want to win now and jeopardize his future potential to win. And this is why I think he should make a move to try to get Justin Fields, because Nick, you talk about what the 49ers have, and they do have a perfect situation and setup. But you look at what the New England Patriots were able to do this free agency offseason in free agency. They acquired 2 tight ends that can help any quarterback. We know we know Cam Newton has thrived off of throwing 2 tight ends. They have that now. So with a young quarterback, that in a running game, in a system that you don't have to solely rely on your talent as a quarterback and a rookie, it's perfect storm. It's the perfect storm. They would protect him going into the next year, and then they would have a sustained future of success. The Patriots aren't out of it just because Cam didn't play great last season.
Oh, I agree. And I think the Wilds, your concerns of is it about right now or the future, I think drafting a quarterback that you think is really good and can be a franchise quarterback, I think that could answer both questions. I mean, Mahomes in his first year starting went to the AFC Championship game. Russell Wilson, his first year starting, went to the playoffs. Second year, went to the Super Bowl. Like, the young quarterbacks, Lamar took him to the playoffs first year. Second year, it was the MVP. Like, young quarterbacks are ready to win almost immediately if they're in the right system with the right weapons and the right offensive coordinator. So I don't think it's any more like, oh, we're drafting a quarterback, talk to us in 3 years. Bad teams say that, but good teams don't. The question, Wilds, is, what is it actually going to take? You said it's going to take the 15th and something else. That something else is a lot. 12-3 costs 2 additional first-round picks. The 12th pick and 2 additional first-round picks. So how far, right, you're not doing that. But so how far does he have to drop? If he's available at 8, like then all of a sudden are you saying, okay, 15 plus 1, does that get it done? Maybe, probably not. Keep in mind, it took a future first rounder when we have the metrics already, right? The Dolphins moved back they went from 3 to 12, and then they went 12 to 6. So what did 12 to 6 cost? The 12th pick plus next year's first rounder. So that's to move up 6 spots. So if you're trying to get up to 15 to 8, it's probably 15 plus next year's first rounder and a little something else. Are you willing to do that? That's going to be a draft day question, right? It's going to be a question of how far is he falling? How far do we think we have to move up? They can't move up to 4. They're not going to move up to 4. And they need him to fall at least there. That's the question for the Patriots, I think, Wilds.
Yeah, well, Brandon, open up the doors. Bill Belichick and I are going to come down and check out Kellen Mond this weekend. So have everything laid out for us in smoothies. I know you got the smoothie bar ready to go. Maybe we will keep 15, take Kellen Mond in the second round. So Kellen will be there shortly.
You don't have to check him out.
If you and Belichick start training together, that is my butt first for the rest of my God-given life.
Not training.
All right, we're going to stick with the draft.
I didn't think she was going to say God-given. I thought Jenna was about to really go off the board. Oh, my God, God-given. I was anxious for a moment.
Lit it up.
Sorry, Jenna.
At Florida, I obviously don't even know where Nick's going now, but I'm going to figure it out as soon as I read the rest of this team. Stories to start your morning, sponsored by Ram Trucks, built to serve. Talking Nets Lakers from Saturday. Nets without Harden. Lakers without, well, the list is too long to even name. But they put on a show defensively, and the Brooklyn Nets got outplayed underneath all night long. Lakers with a big win over the Nets. How big? Well, Dennis Schroeder called it the best win of the year. 8 players in double digits for the Lakers. Again, most of them sat on the bench, their starters. Meanwhile, Nets offense, with KD still on that minutes restriction, never quite kicked it into gear. Brandon, let me start with you. Saturday's blowout Laker win over the Nets. Big deal or not really a big deal?
Where's my buddy Nick? Can you put Nick next to me on the side-by-side, please? This is just ridiculous. Nick, we work so hard during the weekday, and then all of a sudden the weekend come, and we just want to rest and relax and find a good show.
And just ruined
the last thing I wanted to see was the Lake show. Oh, my goodness. Not because of the big picture, but because you were dead in this conversation. You had nothing left. And all of a sudden, the Lakers have nothing. And then we go in as the Nets, and we have everything we need just to put you away. And they just go the opposite direction. KD on the pitch count. Kyrie gets ejected when the game was still close. Come on. There was no help from the bench. Where was Shamet, Nick? Where was Jeff Green? Where was Joe Harris? Where were these guys? Come on, man. It was a brutal weekend for me because of you. Now you have life for the rest of the season. This can carry you all the way to the playoffs. That's why it was a big deal.
Here's the thing. I had plenty of life before, but I do appreciate you being concerned of my well-being prior to Saturday night. I know for you it was an ugly Sunday morning, gritting your teeth, waiting for this day, waiting for this morning. How obnoxious is Nick going to be? How over the top is Nick going to be? And the answer is very and very. Because here's the thing. The Nets have a problem. And the problem, you could call it an Andre Drummond problem. They are 0-3 against Drummond this year, even though Drummond has played 2 of those games with the Pistons and 1 of those games without LeBron and AD. But it's actually a centers problem. What team in the league gives up the most points to opposing centers? The Nets. What team in the league gives up the most field goals to opposing centers? The Nets. What team in the league gives up the most assists to opposing centers? The Nets. Who do you got to go through to make the NBA Finals? Giannis, who's a de facto center, and Joel Embiid, who's the best center in the league. If you make the Finals, who's going to be waiting for you? I would argue the Lakers. They've got Anthony Davis. Some would argue the Nuggets. They've got the potential league MVP at center. Either way, you're all of a sudden a very small team in a very big league. And your 2 guys that have the height to defend centers, they need to do some type of weight transfer. You need LaMarcus to give some of his to Kevin Durant. The one guy's a little too big, one guy's a little too little. Neither one can guard a center. So because of that, you might have some problems. So I'm not here to say Andre Drummond. What's up, Brandon? What are you seeing? What are you looking at? What are you confused by? Tell me, please, help me.
You brought up Embiid. You brought up Embiid. I love Embiid. We beat it. We beat the Sixers. Yeah. So you keep talking about this big man problem. We don't have a big man problem. We have is a big 3 problem. Harden wasn't available. KD on the pitch count wilds. And Kyrie got ejected in the 3rd quarter with 9 minutes left. And the game was a game.
That's right.
That was the problem. All this other stuff is just Nick being Nick.
And that's why the Lakers' big 3 of Ben McLemore, Alex Caruso, and Andre Drummond ate their damn lunch for 4 quarters because the Lakers' big 5 was out as well. It's not like the Lakers' wilds were at full strength, my friend.
Brandon, you know what I like about you? You tell good stories. Who's the story about? Is it Michael Thomas who's in full sweat during a walkthrough because he takes everything so seriously? Is that who it was, Michael Thomas? Okay.
Yeah.
The Nets are the opposite of that. And the champions, or in the recent history, have a guy like that. Have a guy like Kevin Garnett who is cursing at people during practice. Have a guy like Draymond Green who will pull the team together and say, we are not losing. The Nets are not built like that. They are meaner to Michael Rappaport on Instagram than they are to their opponents. And I know you're like, oh, well, it's Kyrie. So he's getting warmed up and he's on a pitch count. I'm not out on the Nets, but I saw a lack of urgency. I like the. No, I'm in on Giannis, buddy. I think Giannis has a drive that he wants to win, and the Nets feel like more globetrottery. Like, yeah, we're scoring a lot. We're a lot of fun. We'll throw a bucket of confetti around. It's not water, but there's a lack of intensity, Brandon, that I think is concerning.
Too soon. That's all I got to say about this conversation. You lose 1 game, and then all of a sudden, they're done. They can't make it out the East. They won't win the championship. Come on, just a week ago, Nick, you talk about, I had life. You had no life. You were absolutely done in this conversation. No AD, no LeBron. Please. Please.
And I was right. With no AD and no LeBron, Jenna, I think the Lakers wouldn't get out of the West. But if they did, the Nets could be in trouble in that NBA Finals because then it just go through Drummond. Got to beat Drummond first. AD and LeBron, nice little second and third options. 0-3 against Andre Drummond this year, Jenna.
I want to throw this out there before we say goodbye. Time for Take Your Pick. Miles Bridges thrown down on Clint Capella yesterday. It was a big one, but was it better? Was it better than this? Anthony Edwards. The Anthony Edwards poster from back in February. Brandon Dunk of the year so far. Bridges or Edwards? Take your pick.
I love Edwards. What I loved about Edwards was he landed on the guy, then he got up and looked at the Jumbotron. You don't do that as a player. That was disrespectful. I loved it. But you got to go with Bridges. That was absolutely insane.
Okay. Wow. This is why I think it's Anthony Edwards, Nick. And I know you think it's a Capella thing. Watch how Capella reacts. He's just like, oh, I got dunked on. I'm going to jog back. Anthony Edwards got the whole team sprawled out on the ground. It's still Anthony Edwards for me.
Dunk of the decade. In-game dunk of the decade, Jenna. Blammo.
That's a horrible call.